Reverend Dr. Michael Eric Dyson.
Thank you so kindly, Dr. Scott, for that generous introduction, and to Dr. Higgins, to Dr. Connors, to Dr. Hale, and to all of the distinguished guests and folk who are responsible for putting this together. Of course, to the great President William Harvey and all of the other incredible dignitaries and potentates and philosophers and bishops, imams, and everybody who's here gathered. What an incredible honor it is for me to have this opportunity to come to Hampton under the auspices of this extraordinary gathering of dynamic black preaching. But I do question the logic and the design of having me come up here after all that great preaching. I mean, Goodman taking us on that newfangled neo-Pentecostal, post-Baptistic eloquence, and then tuning at the end. I got a tune for you. It's a cartoon. And then our elder statesman, right, coming with such perspicacity, just smooth with it, 90 years old. That's old school preaching. And then there's me. But what an honor it is. I see Reverend Sue J., your first woman who ran this thing, in the audience here. See Dr. Marcus Cosby up in the audience. We could borrow his homiletical genius and have him come on through, along with Dr. Sue J. and the greatness of Dr. Hale over here. Is there everybody up in here? I'm glad I'm assigned the title of lecturer, because that's what I'm going to do. And for the next 20, 30 minutes, and then we're going to have a good conversation. Is that good? You know, when we think about the fact that the church is to respond to a community in crisis, we have to acknowledge that that is not an ancillary nor peripheral preoccupation of the pulpit. That is restating the obvious. And yet too often we have defaulted on our mission and responsibility to speak to a community in crisis. We have tried to act like we don't know that the crisis is there. We don't really want to deal with it. We'd rather do what the great theological homiletician Ernest T. Campbell said: retreat into the womb of an ahistorical piety. And by retreating into the womb of an ahistorical piety, them some big words, but what they mean. A womb of piety, of celebratory spirituality that is somehow divorced from ahistorical, the condition, climate, and circumstance of the broader culture in which we live. And so there's been a rigid and rigorous division between the world in which we live and the place of the church in that. And so the church does have a moral responsibility to speak to the crisis at hand, especially when our conservative white brothers and sisters have commandeered the pulpit to rubber stamp everything we hear coming out of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Now I know y'all done had a mighty time in the Lord. I'm the party pooper. And the poop on the party comes directly from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. This man stands up every morning to excrete the feces of his moral depravity into a nation he has turned into his psychic commode. I ain't never met a man more proud to be unmolested by enlightenment. Dumb and don't care, unintelligent and don't mind. And let's be real, he got swag envy. He mad he ain't like the man who had the job before he had it. That man walked down Air Force One like he had 50 Cent in the background. I don't know what you heard about me, but the right can't get a dollar out of me. He had style, skill, flavor, nice tan suit, and a nice tan skin. They were mad that a Negro had the unabashed temerity to stand up at Harvard and get a law degree, and his wife, bad as he is, Princeton and Harvard, and did her thing. Mad because we get it. You see, you tell your kids to be smart, but also tell them the folk gonna be mad when you be smart. These are just, as Immanuel Kant would say, my propedeutic. This is just the warm-up act, but wait on. So the thing is, they just mad that they wasn't him. And the man had style, skill, and flavor. He wasn't perfect. He made mistakes, some stuff he could have done, he should have done, he didn't do. But when we look at what we got now, I wish that Negro had come out the White House sometime with a skull cap and a gold grill in his mouth, in a terry cloth robe with his socks pulled up and his slippers on, bending down to pick up his newspaper and say, yeah, what up? Yeah, I live in public housing. And now we got a man foul, lascivious, nefarious, lugubrious, inelegant, uneloquent, incapable of humanity, don't like nobody. He don't like the Mexicans. He don't like the Puerto Ricans. He don't like the black folk. He don't like the gay folk. He don't like nobody except folk that look like him. And he can't tell no difference between right-wing neo-Nazis who hate the world and everybody who doesn't look like them and those who oppose it. Your responsibility as the church is to call that out. You got to have perspective on that. We living in a white supremacist culture. What does that mean? That doesn't mean that individual white brothers and sisters are indebted to a vicious ideology that subordinates black people to them, but that's true too. White supremacy is the conscious or unconscious belief that one group is inherently superior and another one is inferior. Well, after seeing this dude, we know whiteness ain't superior. He don't know but 25 words. Bigly, huge, sad. And then he goes around bragging about grabbing women and then trying to blame hip-hop for it. Don't be blaming Biggie Smalls for that. Don't blame Tupac for that. Don't blame Jay-Z for that. That's you. Because you ain't got no skill. If you had skill, you ain't got to grab it, call it. Summons it with the integrity of your persona, the obvious humanity of your identity. If a real woman is in the spot and you see her, ask, beg, cajole, beseech, don't grab. Use the power of your personality to secure the bag. Even Biggie said, some say the X makes the sex spectacular. Make me lick you from your neck to your back, then tongue delivering chills up that spine. That what is mine? If it's all right with you, that's affirmative consent. And the problem with us is that we are indebted to a vicious, patriarchal, misogynistic, sexist culture that is scared of women. If real men ain't afraid of real women. And so, you and I have a responsibility as the church to have a perspective about the long history of white supremacy in this country. Why is that important? Because we live in a nation that has exploited black and brown and red and yellow and other indigenous people for the purposes of reproducing the pathology of slave mentality, white supremacist ideology, and the subordination of every person of color to a vicious standard that they can't even meet. Y'all remember back in the day in Jim Crow when they wasn't letting Negroes vote? And they be asking them all them questions, literacy tests, poll test, right? How many beans in the jelly? How many jelly beans in a jar? They ain't know. Asking all them questions, they ignorant. They don't know. So the irony is, even the punishing paradox, is that the premise and predicate of white supremacy rests upon an ostensible and supposed superiority that the folk who try to defend it don't possess. And that perspective is critical because you got to get that out your mind. It ain't about Pharaoh letting you go. It's about you letting Pharaoh go. Pharaoh done set up housekeeping in your brain. You think white water is wetter. You think white love is better. You think white intelligence is smarter. Now, I ain't trying to beat up on nobody who done made a choice or to, shall we say, engage in extraneous exogamous relations that are not indigenous to African America. That's your business. If you get along with somebody, y'all get together. If you and this microphone can have a relationship, God bless you. Hey, how are you? Fine, how are you? You know what I like about you? What's that? You amplify me. But white supremacy makes you think they culture better than your culture. They church better than your church. They smarts better than your smarts. You can already see that ain't true. We possess what God gave to us, and we ought to stop apologizing for it. Don't be making no excuses for what we are. God made us this way, and it's mighty great. They can't get enough of Beyonce. They can't get enough of Oprah. They can't get enough of Jay-Z, because what we got, they won't. They think they better than us. They born better than us, smarter than us, more intelligent, more insightful, more analytical, more profound, but they ain't got what we got, what God gave us, a soulfulness, a beauty of the Spirit. You better reclaim that. And that's why I celebrate black women. I wrote a book called Why I Love Black Women. I ain't mad at nobody else. I'm from the 70s. You know how we did it. We are on the forefront of forging interracial relations for the purposes of edifying engagement. Love the one you're with. But what's interesting, that when I look around and I see the hatred for blackness, for our big lips, our broad noses, our broad hips, the beauty of our chocolate, we got every color you want. I feel like I've been in exile as a yellow Negro. But Drake done brought us back. Steph Curry done gave us some principle. Idris Elba and Denzel had us in the doghouse. But we back. My daddy was blue-black from Albany, Georgia. I saw how Negroes treated him like he was an ape, an animal. Dark-skinned, dark-skinned. People presumed certain things about him, drew their conclusions about him, thought that they knew who and what he was because of his pigment. And that's black folk included. Black folk who dark, warning other dark folk not to marry other dark folks. You want to lighten up your kids, keep them out of the sun. You got to stop that self-hatred. Pharaoh is in your brain. Pharaoh is in your mind. You better celebrate ebony ecstasy and furrowed in coffee flesh. You better love what God gave you. They trying to get it in a tanning booth. They trying to go out to the beach. You got it coming here. And that ain't all you got. And thank God for it. Some of them who get these girls, they got to buy it in a box. They got to get gluteus emphasis on Maximus. But y'all came here with it. God gave you what you need. That curvaceous, plump attitude that allows you to modify and regulate a conception of the masculine because of your feminine possibility. You ain't got to buy it. You ain't got to cosmetically alter it. God gave it to you. And if you got it, back that thing up. I'm talking about your brain. That's what I'm talking about. White supremacy will make you think that your own people ain't worth living with. I was on the plane last year going from Los Angeles to New York. Young man said, "Are you Michael Eric Dyson?" I said, "Yes, I am." He said, "I'm sitting next to you, but sir, I want to tell you I read all your books." I turned to him, I said, "Is your name Nipsey Hussle?" He said, "Yes, sir." And I pulled out my iPhone. I said, "I want to show you I listen to all your music." I'm prolific, so gifted. I'm the kind that go out and get it, no kidding. That Louisiana accent. You know, Negroes who left the South, Louisiana, going over to Los Angeles, Mississippi over to Los Angeles, Negroes from Mississippi to Chicago. Chicago ain't nothing but a suburb of Mississippi. Negroes from Georgia over to Detroit. My mama from Alabama, daddy from Georgia. Listening to Snoop Dogg, that's a Calabama accent. Falling back on that, what the hell if I gangster lane? Funky on the mic, like an old batch of collard greens. It's the capital O-S-O, yes, I'm fresh and double O-P, D-O-double-G-Y-D-O-double-G, you see. We sat there and talked. Told me about what he was doing in the hood, in California, in Crenshaw and Slauson, where he emerged from. Big rap star, but he ain't leave. He wanted to stay there. He wanted to let black folk know they are worthy of investment. Here we are living in a culture that has manufacturing to service industry as the mark of the economy for the last 25 to 30 years. The shift from manufacturing to service industries exports black people and brown people out to suburbs and exurbs. Because white folk coming back into the city to take them back over, pushing us out, marginal housing. Then they want to change the character of our neighborhood when they move in. I live in D.C., used to be Chocolate City, now it's Frappuccino City. They don't want no loud Negro music, they don't want no go-go music. That's what it was when you got here. And that's what I tell black folk when I go around and I speak and white folk in the audience. I say, first of all, I teach at Georgetown. I talk to white folk every day. Secondly, this ain't no Frank Sinatra concert, this Luther. And you knew when you came here I wasn't Frank Sinatra. Fly me to the moon and let me play among the stars. That's good, but that ain't what I do. Don't you remember? I told you I loved you, baby. Y'all don't know nothing about Luther. Y'all don't remember. Baby, 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 ooh, baby, baby. That's what I do. That's what I be. Oh, I got a PhD from prison, but straight nigga. I tried to squeeze it out of me, tried to educate it out of me, but God gave it to me. I'm from the west side of Detroit. I represent what God gave me. But as a black man in America, W.E.B. Du Bois is an inspiration. Mary McLeod Bethune is an inspiration. Hampton is an inspiration. Howard is an inspiration. I am what God made me, and I will not turn my back on that. And so the church has to get rid of that white supremacy through its perspective, but Secondly, the church got to get its prophecy right. Now I'm going to tell you, this is the part you ain't going to necessarily like. Because the church has become so profoundly conservative that it has lost its ability to engage the world with the transforming power of the gospel. If all you gonna do is reflect the value system of either the dominant culture from which you hail or the narrow bourgeois Negro mentality of respectability politics from within, you ain't serving God. And see, in the Hebrew Bible, better known to us as the Old Testament, they made a distinction between prophets who spoke within the realm of power to government and those who stood outside. You got to have a three-pointer like Steph Curry, but you got to slam the ball like Shaquille O'Neal, if I can mix generations. Sorry if you're a Golden State fan for your loss last night. You need a perimeter game and going hard in the paint. Ain't no either or. We need prophets from within, and we need prophets from outside. But the thing is, maintain your prophecy. Some of you are trying to make God co-sign your bourgeois Negro identity. A few years ago, I wrote a book, a lot of Negroes didn't like it, about a comedian going around the country, beating up on young people, and implicitly castigating and casting aspersion against women. And the people with the thing and the jello and the pudding pop. People treated him like a prophet. About time somebody spoke to poor Negroes. How much courage does it take to beat up on a poor black person in the hood? How much courage does it take to assail the projects? How much bravery does it take to talk about a woman named Shaniqua and to make fun of her name? Proverbs says rich people got all kind of friends, but the poor folk ain't got nobody. That's why they developed and loved hip-hop culture, because bourgeois Negroes in enclaves of civic horror called ecclesiastical churches looking down their nose at them. Don't mess up my church. Don't get the bus dirty. Don't bring your madness in here. This is where you ought to bring the madness. This is where you ought to bring the pathology. Because we're going to clean it up, fix it up, analyze it up, and if we can't deal with it, ship it up, but we're going to try to address it. He went around the country talking about black folk couldn't talk. Where you is and what you doing. You the one invented Dumb Donald. Weird Harold. Mush mouth. Bazoomba. That ain't the king's English to the queen's taste. Here you are exploiting Ebonics while you're trying to berate it. I saw a Negro on TV testifying before Congress, speaking Ebonics while trying to dog it. He said, I want to make a Pacific point. Negro, is that as opposed to an Atlantic point? You speak the way God gave you the ability to speak. Now, you ought to get better. You teach your kids to get better. But you meet people where they are before you take them where they need to be. My daddy spoke Ebonics. He said, I'm fixing to go to the store. And if he got really going, he said, I'm fitting to go. When you're coming back, I'll be back directly. Did he have a geographical mishap? The point of his departure was significantly different than the point of his return? No. See, in African American vernacular English, that's the formal linguistic expression of what black folk do. Don't act like bad English is black English. We got rules to this. See, Negroes, Africans, blacks, we speak with what they call zero copula. A copula is a form of the verb to be. But we cut out the grammatical middleman. Not I am going presently, I be going. Not who is that, who that. And see, George Orwell, the great British writer, said, if I'm saying something and you understand what I'm saying, we be communicating. Just like y'all listen to some people in church, they ain't got the most high-flown grammatical construction, linguistic articulation, the ability to engage in speaking highfalutin eloquence, but they know what they know. And so they use their bad grammar to give you a good sense of a good God. Lord, this morning, I want to thank you that my bed sheets wasn't my winding sheets and my bed wasn't my cooling board. Thank you, let the golden moments flow on a little longer. Yes, Lord, we is happy that you have made us another day for us to see. That might be bad grammar, but that's great theology. God ain't worried about the pronoun, the gerund, the participle. God is worried about your part in the tragic and the powerful. God is worried about who you are. Do you love people? Do you satisfy the basic requirement to be a human being? That's what God is worried about. And so this man went around the country, said folk don't know how to talk and they don't know how to name their kids. Well, people name their kids what they name their kids. And if you ain't paying child support, you ain't got no... And as an aside and an asterisk, even if you pay child support, you might not have a vote. Sorry for that flashback to bitterness 30 years ago. Black folk can always name their kids after weird stuff. In enslavement, we named our kids after the season of the year. We named them all kind of interesting things with the so-called Gullah influence inflecting the regional preferences for nomenclature. Paya, up the creek, frog. And then in the 1920s, we named our kids after luxury items. It ain't just started now. Cadillac. Negroes name their kids Hershey Bar. And now black folk name their kids after stuff they want and can't have. What's your name, Mercedes? What's your name, Lexus? What's your name, Versace? But don't act like you ain't know that there's some richer, more famous black people with unusual names. You didn't attack them. Keyshawn Johnson. Keyshawn. Shaquille O'Neal, we know that's Nigerian, but O'Neal, what is that, Black Irish? Oprah? Who you know named Oprah besides? What was her name supposed to be? Orpah. They was reading the Bible wrong. You know how Negroes is. I thought that's what it said. I don't know how to spell Oprah. Condoleezza? Who you know, Condoleezza? PhD, Russian Studies, Secretary of State. Her mama, great musician, like the daughter. But she loved Italian musical signatures, Condicezza. But you ain't gonna call your daughter Condicezza, so she anglicized it and negrofied it and called her Condoleezza. I know some Negroes with some regular names, all messed up. Clarence. Ben. Then he said they spent all their money on Nike and none on Hooked on Phonics. Well, as you can tell, I have an affection and a claim to be an amateur aficionado of linguistic practices in postmodern America. Hooked on Phonics went out of business, bruh, because they couldn't produce the results they claim to produce. But Nike's still in business. So those Negroes had what the economists call rational choice. You beating up on poor black people. I ain't saying poor black people perfect. I'm saying why beat up on them? Why start with them? Some of the same habits that poor folk got, rich folk got. But they can cover it up better. One goes to the crack house, another one gets OxyContin. When there was a crack epidemic, they sent us to jail. They told us we were evil, foul, nefarious, incapable of being mature human beings. But now that they kids got addicted to meth and OxyContin, they want to save them and redeem them and love them. They criminalize us and medicalize their kids. And then I went to church the other day. Black woman told me, you know you're going to hell. I said, I'm not going to lie to you. I got 25 reasons why I know I should go to hell. But I'm just curious, which one do you know? Asking for a friend. She said, do you know why you're going to hell? The sermon you preached this morning, you said God made gay people. I said, And you think I'm going to hell? Because you must be a polytheist. You must think there's a God for gay people and one for straight people. That ain't my theology. I believe everybody made by God. Now I don't know when black folk got so homophobic. When I was a kid, I'm 60 years old, we knew who was gay. You know Andre was gay. You knew the choir director was gay. You knew a couple of them ushers were lesbian. And you knew some of them preachers were gay too. When did black people get so theologically conservative that we gonna use the same kind of argument white folk used against us to use it against gay and lesbian and transgendered and bisexual? Oh my God, there's a difference. This is what the woman told me. She said, you know the difference. She said, they chose to be gay. I didn't choose to be black. I said, I got news for you. Some people have opted out of the plan of blackness. I done named a couple names. You know what I'm talking about. I said, but is that how it works? People choose their sexuality. So when did you choose to be straight? Doesn't that make sense? If you choose to be gay, you got to choose to be straight. You went to your mom at 13, you said, look, I've been looking at these options, and I done decided to be straight, because that other one is a pain in the... So, is that how it works? Let me tell you why it ain't a choice. And some of y'all mad at me. How dare he? Filthy theological dregs poison and temper and taint the extraordinary purity of the gospel. Slow down with that. White senator from Iowa, anti-gay marriage, for traditional marriage, several kids and a wife, but he goes into the bathroom stall and he taps the toe of his neighbor to signify he's open for business. Now, I've done the same thing, but I was just asking for some toilet paper. I did not know. I know. I did not know. If anybody wasn't going to choose to do that, it would have been him. The mystery of sexuality is so profound. You ain't got no business being in the theological line to judge and remonstrate against people. Cause let's be real. Sexuality is a deep and profound thing. Some of us just not getting it right. At this age. You don't know the mystery. Do you know that black people were queered when we got here in America? It ain't normal to be looking at nobody's sexual organs to determine if they are fit to procreate, to further the telos of agrarian capital and slavery. That ain't normal. They queered us when we got here. Looking at our latissimus dorsi, our pectoralis major, our organs that gave sweet music to them. That ain't normal. We were already queer. That's why black folk don't really dig the alternative, quote, sexuality, because we already feeling, oh my God, they already tripping on us. Here you come with that gay stuff, and you gonna mess us up. Let me tell you something. Black gays and lesbians have saved your life, have made it possible for you to be free in America, have made it possible for you to enjoy some of the privileges you enjoy. Oh, you might not have known they was gay or lesbian, but they were. What, you gonna get retroactively homophobic? Had I known you were gay, I would have never taken that 4-year scholarship you gave me to get me through school so that I could graduate and become a professional and a member of my society. Had I known you were gay, I would have never listened to that song you sang when I was down on the moaner's bench looking for God to bless me. Had I known you were gay, I would have never listened to that sermon that brought salvation to my life. James Baldwin was gay, but he defended every Negro up in here. Angela Davis, too. It ain't their sexual orientation, it's their moral orientation. There's some straight folk who will treat you crazy and do insane stuff, too. And it ain't your sexual orientation. There are some women here married to men who wish they would be as faithful to them as Steve is to Adam. Plus, I ain't never been to a black church that turns down gay tithes. Not only that, and I'm almost done, in this prophecy, we have got to understand the role of our young people. Now, I don't know about y'all, I listen to pop culture as part of my job. I listen to this rap music, and I listen to what they're saying. And if you ever listen to it, some of it is pretty good. Now, a lot of it is bad, but a lot of gospel music is bad too. Oh, your soul might be saved, but your voice is really sinning. On some of them. Off tune, off key, can't get it. And then some of the theology is pretty jacked up too. Jesus will never say no. Stop lying. Said no to you this morning. Lord, no. Are you sure? No. Can you think about? No. And so a lot of opera is bad. You just don't know it. It's opera is gangster rap in Italian and German. And the stuff they're singing about might as well be Snoop Dogg. But your own kids have something to say too. And sometimes the prophecy of the church has been surrendered to young people in the streets telling more truth than we will tell. God forgive me for my brash delivery, but I remember vividly what these streets did to me. Imagine me allowing you to nitpick at me, portray me like a pickaninny. You can laugh and criticize Michael Jackson if you wanted. Woody Allen molested and married his stepdaughter. Same press kicking dirt on Michael's name. Show Woody and Sun Yee at the playoff game holding hands. Now sit back and think about that. Will we get the same dap if his name was Woody Black? OJ acquitted by a jury of his peers. They've been messing with that brother for the last 20 years. Is it fair? Is it equal? Is it just? Is it right? Do we do the same thing if the defendant's face is white? White boys doing it well is success. I start doing well as suspect. They say they want you successful, but then they make it stressful. You start keeping pace, they start changing up the tempo. That great philosopher, Christopher Wallace, better known as, I know you know him, he's one of the great liturgists of the secular church, an evangelist of extraordinary power. Y'all remember him? I used to fuss when the landlord dissed us. No heat. Wondered why Christmas messed up. Birthdays was the worst days. Now we sip champagne. Darn right I like the life I live, because I went from negative to positive, and it's all good. And if you don't know, but he also said, back in the days, our parents used to take care of us. Look at them now. They're even scared of us. Calling the state for help because they can't maintain. Darn things done changed. If I wasn't in the rap game, I'd probably have a key knee deep in the crack game, because the streets is a short stop. Either you're slinging crack rock or you got a wicked jump shot. Damn, it's hard being young from the slums, eating 5-cent gums, not knowing where your meal's coming from. What happened to the summertime cookout? Every time I turn around, a brother's being took out. Hear them, hear Tupac. Somebody wake me, I'm dreaming. I started as a seed, the semen, swimming upstream, planted in the womb while screaming. On the top was my pops, my mama hollering, stop, from a single drop. This is what they got? Not to disrespect my people, but my papa was a loser. Only plan he had for mama was the blanker and abuser. And even as a seed, I could see his plan for me, stranded on welfare, another broken family. Hear your children, hear the agony, hear the pain. And the prophets of the world, Tupac said, just the other day I got lynched by some crooked cops, and to this day, them same cops on the beat getting major pay. But when I get my check, they taking tax out, so we paying the cops to knock the blacks out. If on Sunday morning all you're preaching is high time and hallelujah, and you're talking about Jesus as the water of life, and you ain't talking about nobody's water bill, you are not preaching the gospel. If you preach on Sunday morning after a black woman has been slammed down to the street and then murdered after she tells the policeman that she is pregnant, you are not preaching the gospel. If you claim to be pro-life, and what some old white men know about, they ain't seen sex in 30 years, trying to tell a woman what to do with her body. You don't have the right to do that. You don't have the right. You are not God. And even though personally your ethical orientation, your moral preference may be one thing, that's another to give the state the power to determine who can do it. Because before you know it, they're going to be euthanizing Negroes. They're going to be telling us what we can do. Oh, they did. It was called enslavement. They raped us at will. There was no Me Too movement for Sally Hemings. Thomas Jefferson wrote notes on Virginia, designed Monticello, wrote the Declaration of Independence, and had sex and many children with a 14-year-old girl. It didn't start with R. Kelly. Thomas Jefferson and the rest of those white men said, I don't see nothing wrong. So when you listen to them, hear the pain, the agony of the things we should be doing. We should be on the side of the vulnerable. We should be on the side of the oppressed. We should be on the side of those who hurt. We should be on the side of those who are addicted. We should be on the side of those who are alcoholics. We should be on the side of those who are viciously demonized. Now, it's true, the mumble rap, I don't know what they're saying. I like rap, I can hear the words. Standing by the speaker, suddenly I had a fever. Was it me or either summer madness? I don't know what some of these new boys saying. Worms coming, 100,000, 100,000, 150,000, 7,000, 8,000, 30,000. And then they go, know what I'm saying? No, actually, no, I don't. The only part I like is that I can hear, walk it like you talk it. Hey, walk it like you talk it. Hey, that's a theological premise I can live with. Walk it like you talk it. If you gonna say it, be it. If you gonna talk about it, then be about it. If you gonna read it in the Bible, then translate it into your life. Walk it like you talk it. And then let me say this before I sit down. Not just perspective and prophecy, you got to know your purpose. Everybody can't do everything. You got to stay in your lane. And see, I know what my lane is. All these brilliant hoopers up in here. Oh my God. One of the great theological phenomena of Christendom
is a black preacher. And a black preacher with high intelligence, profound spirituality, and a Mississippi moan, and an Alabama tune, and a Chicago inflected and nuanced discourse, or wherever you happen to be, that's a beautiful thing. That just ain't my gift. But I knows who I is. You got to know what God made you good at. If you 5'2", even though there are some exceptions, not likely that you're going to be a starting point guard in the NBA. There are some exceptions, but they are the exceptions that prove the rule. You want to be a great singer, but you can't carry a note. That ain't your gift. A gift is an index of divine intent and purpose on a life. You got to know what you're good at. Some of us are good at encouragement. Do you know that's a gift? Given all the nasty, negative, foul, ridiculous things we hear when somebody says, you know, you look nice today. That's a beautiful pin you have on. My God, your hair looks great. That's a ministry of encouragement. You got to do what God gave you the ability to do. And if you're going to help out as the church to the world, show up where people need you. Stand on a line to help somebody interpret something because they speak a different language. Show up for those who don't have any food to give them some food. You better use the gift God gave you. And I know mine, I just make white folk upset. Don't get it wrong, I love white brothers and sisters. Some of my best friends are white. But see, I knows what my gift is. I ain't gonna tune at the end, but if I'm on television, I'm gonna light them up for you. I'm your big brother. I'm gonna cuss them out with big words. Every time you hear me use a big word, you know I wanna say, you mother blesser. But I say lugubrious leech instead of mother. I'm an anger translator for the masses of black folk, but I say it in a way that makes them mad. I use my dictionary and my thesaurus and my grammatical construction to call white ring supremacy what it is. I'm gonna take my seat, but I tell you what, the other day, there was a result that proved what I'm talking about. This man was an underdog, stepped into the ring with a man that was overwhelming favorite. Then in the 7th round, this chiseled Adonis fell to this fat, chubby, flabby boxer because he had what it took to accomplish the goals he wanted. Because he knew what his purpose was, and he knew what his skill was. He was sharp, he trained hard, he didn't look the part, but God gave him the blessing. And then Mr. Ruiz knocked out the heavyweight champion in the 7th round. Despite being flabby, and despite being the first Mexican to win the heavyweight championship, he didn't let that daunt him because he knew what he could do and he had the skills to do it. His gift was not to look the part, his gift was to be the part. And that's what you got to remember. You got to know what God gave you to do. You got to stay in your lane, fulfill your purpose, lift up your gift, and then God will bless you and bless the world around you. Peace.